Okay, next thing I'm going to do, I am going to put in a fill light. And so let's just go and do this. Switch back to perspective. And when I put in a fill light, I'm going to go in here to Arnold, and lights, area light. And here I might make this a bit bigger so we can see it. Okay, I'm going to stop this for a second. Come on. Okay, and of course it's decided to freeze up right here. Okay, there it is. Make this a bit bigger so I can see it, and then I'll pull that this way. Now, we've got a key light coming from up here. Okay, and so for my fill light, I want that to come in from the other side. So there's one going to come in from this side, the fill light kind of like a bounce. Okay, we're already kind of getting a little bit of bounce in here, but I want a bit more and I want to be in control. So I'm just going to go to panels, I'll go look through selected. And sometimes when I'm placing the light, you'll see the light goes funky. I'll just I'll click on an object, and if I press F, it'll frame it. And then I can kind of reset the light, its pivot point essentially. And I'll put it on the opposite side, something like that. And if we render, okay, now I moved this way out of line, so I gotta go back here to the perspective, or actually while I'm doing this, just hit escape. It's gonna stop my render quickly. Escape. There. Something I can do as well when I'm doing this is go to 3D manipulation, and when I'm in 3D manipulation, I can go in and go back to this camera that I'm using to establish the light. Actually, you know what? I should be doing one other thing. I'm kind of doing this in perspective right now. And perspective is, I'm starting to find that I want to be able to work in perspective and move things around, but I want to render this out and I want to stay static. I want everything to stay locked. So, you know what? This is a good time to introduce doing this in a slightly different way. I'm going to go to panels, perspective, and I'm going to create a new perspective. There it is right here, and I'm going to call this shot cam. Okay. And I can switch right here to camera shape. This is perspective. What if I just close this down for a second, open it back up? There it is, shot cam. So now we can look through the shot cam. And let's move this over. And whenever I want to, I can go over here to panels, perspective, shot cam, there we are. And this is the angle that we're looking through. And for our render, let's just move this back down a little bit. Okay, great. And there's a little, right here there's a lock button, so I can lock this camera and it won't move. Okay, and if I want to do little experiments, I can go back to my perspective camera, and when I'm in perspective, now it's stuck. I'm just going to press stop for a second here. Oh, I'm still stuck in shot cam. So shot cam is locked, that's why I can't move. There we go, perspective. Now this fill light, as we're kind of placing it in here, let's actually keep this on the shot cam. Got it's off on this side. Okay, that's cool. And I've got this looking in on this side. I can't really tell what's going on when I'm doing the lighting. When I press render here for the shot cam, if I go in and I start moving this light around, hitting E, trying to get the rotate tool flying. Come on. Okay, just gotta wait a second there, it's caught up. And as I move this around, we can kind of see what's going on here. It's kind of maybe, oh, it's not filling in anything. You know what? It's because I have to go into the attribute editor. Okay, get the attribute editor up and flying. Just going to move this over a little bit. And come on. And I'm trying to move it. Oh, there we go. Exposure, like I said, I always kind of start at 10, figure out what I want. There you can see it picking up on the floor. Okay. And it's starting to fill in some of this area here. It's still kind of hard to figure out what the hell I'm looking at though. So what I might do is I'm going to bring the light manager over. Come on. There we go. And there's the key light. I'm just going to turn it off. And so when I'm rendering, I don't see that, but it's still there. So I've just disabled it. And now I'm just going to move this beast off to the side again. It's going to let me do this. Okay, there. Okay. And so that gives me a chance to kind of figure out how this fill light's going to work. And right now the exposure maybe isn't high enough. You don't really want it to fill this up too much. Okay, great. I could go in and look through the light and try to figure out how much I want to fill up, but it's basically all the shadow area from the key light. You want it filled in a little bit. I probably don't need it to cast shadows, so I can turn that off. Okay, I don't like how it's showing up on the floor. Okay, so I'm just gonna... And I don't really want it to, right there. I don't want to show up as little highlights here. This is supposed to be a bounce light, so this doesn't really quite make sense. If I go into the visibility, I can go into these things like specular and turn that off, so it no longer bounces along here. This floor, if I select the light and I grab the floor as well,
maybe just let me know.
And if I go to, right now we're in modeling, I'm going to go into the rendering section, lighting and shading. I can break light links so it doesn't light up the floor, because that starts to look weird. Okay. Anything else I need to worry about? We don't have the shadows on, so I don't need to play with the samples. I could bring down the exposure just a little bit. Okay, and also too, you could think about giving it some kind of slight color. Slight, really subtle. So if I put on something like, let's do something bluish. Okay, that's too heavy-handed, so I gotta bring this down. Okay, so we're still getting that, but just a little bit of a blue bounce. Kind of more of a shadow area thing. And then if I go back to the other light, whoop, I'm just going to bring it back. I just went to the light editor, and if I select it, I can go into the color, and oh, you bastard! The color pops up for just a moment. Okay, if you want this thing, the color to pop up a bit, what's the word I'm looking for? To hang around.
That'd be great.
Okay, if you go this and you double click, it'll open up in a separate window and it'll stay there till you hit done. Okay, just a little trick. But I've just changed this so there's a little bit of a chromatic thing going on. A little bit of blue from one side, a little bit of orange from another. Barely audible. Visible, barely visible. Okay, and that's my fill light. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can mention in here that'll help. But now you can see some of these shadows here. You don't want them to be quite so dark. You want them to be filled up a little bit. And actually I just hit 1 to 1, and yeah, I can barely detect what I've done. If you want to just isolate each one, use the light manager, turn them off and on, figure out which one's doing what. And I'm going to stop this video here.